Hello students, my name is Dr. Vivogna. Today I will teach you very important topic in Indian economy, that is Indian Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. I have already uploaded more than 160 videos in my YouTube channels. These videos are important for those who are preparing for competitive examination, who are preparing for 10th, 11th, 12th, and basically those videos I have already uploaded, which is related with UGC NET, IS, PCS and Indian Economic Services, those persons who are preparing for this examination. So today I will teach you very simple topic for class 12 Cbse board, that is IPR policy 1956. IPR policy 1956. और जब हम IPR पॉलिसी 1956 की बात करेंगे तो इसका नाम है इंडस्ट्री पॉलिसी रिजोल्यूशन 1956 resolution 1956. Today we will talk about the IPR policy, industry policy resolution 1956. Now, what is the benefit of this industry policy resolution in 1956? The main benefit is that the government plays an important role for the development of the industry. IPR policy in 1956, the main role of the government, what is the main role? The main role of the government, to develop the industries, to develop private industries, okay, to develop industries in backward areas also. So in IPR policy, there are number one, first point is that is threefold classification is there. Threefold classification. In threefold classification, what is saying? Threefold classification mein first, I am writing here first point, threefold classification, that is those industries which could be developed only for public sector enterprises, means which should be established industries which could be established only exclusively for public sector enterprises, exclusively public sector enterprises. Public sector enterprises means government enterprises, means all those industries which could be established exclusively for public sector enterprises, जो public sector enterprises के लिए हो. Public sector enterprises means government, like I want to say that atomic energy, defense, railways, etc. So we can say that in this industry which could be established exclusively for public sector enterprises, that is government, atomic energy, defense, railways, etc. Or there were only at that time there were only 17 public industries. 17 पब्लिक इंडस्ट्रीज थी, कितनी? 17, याद रखिएगा 17 पब्लिक इंडस्ट्रीज. पहले कितनी? देयर वर ओनली 17 पब्लिक इंडस्ट्रीज. नाउ इन बी पार्ट इंडस्ट्रीज, तो उसने कहा देयर आर इंडस्ट्री विच कुड बी एस्टेब्लिश ऑन पब्लिक सेक्टर एंटरप्राइजेस. नाउ हियर इन दिस केस, those which could be established for public and private, means now in second case you can open public industry, government industry and private industry only, but private plays an important role as secondary role. Private industries, they can role as a secondary. Private industry role is secondary only. This point should be clear. There are, in second point, there is a public sector and private sector is also, but private role plays only secondary role is there. And Those who will come new industries, they will come into public sector enterprises. Before that there are 17 industries, now there are only 12 industries. 12 industries in government sector. 12 industries in government sector. Okay, now 12 industry in government sector. Now see point. Except A and B, there were only private industries. So this means that this is the industry 3/4 classification what we have learned. What we have learned in IPR policy, that is 3/4 classification. First, they focus on public sector enterprises. There are totally 17 public sector enterprises. 17 industry thi. There were 17 government industry. Then at last, public and private. Second point, public and private industries is also there. But there are only 12 industries there. And except these two industries, all the industries were private. See my point दिया गया, except A and B. A और B को छोड़ के all the industries were private. Private हुई. This is the 3/4 classification. And I have seen many times in competition, now they will ask how many industries are reserved for public sector enterprises. तो अब आपने बोलना है only 2 industries. 2 industries are reserved for only 2 industries. Only 2 industries are reserved for public sector enterprises. This question comes many times in the UC NET examination and competitive examinations. That is atomic energy and railways. Atomic energy and railways, we can say that 2 industries only reserved for public sector enterprises. On all those industries now privatization is going on. So you understand this 3/4 classification. In 3/4 classification, we have learned that 17 industries reserved for government sector. Then there is a public and private industry also. 12 industries is reserved for government sector. And then at last only 2 industries is reserved for government sector, and all those industries except A and B, they are the private industry. So I have explained industry policy resolution 1956, this 3/4 classification. Now second point in this 3/4 classification, now second point industrial licensing. Question is IPR policy 1956. Now second point is what? Industrial licensing. Now what is this meaning, industrial licensing? So students, industrial licensing means that it shows that all those who want to open the private industry, they have to taken the license from the government industry. They have to taken the license from the government. So means private sector could be established only through industries in the private sector. Industries in the private sector. अगर हम ये बात करें industries in the private sector, what they will do? They could be established only through a license. Could be established only through a license, of the government. Only through a license of the what? From the government. Through a license from the government. We can say from the government. Means it means that if you want to open any private industry, you have to take license from the government. Once again, I am saying that if you want to open any, at that time 1956, if you want to open any industries, private industry, you have to take license from government sector. This is the industrial licensing. The main motive is to promote private industries also. Now third point in this industrial license, industrial concessions. Means government says that we will provide industrial concession to the private industries. Those who will open the private industry, we will provide the industrial concession. Like So that the what happens, they can open the industries in the backward areas. They can open the industries in the backward areas. Government will provide industrial concession to them. Industrial concession means, number one, tax holiday. Number one, tax holiday. What do you meaning by tax holiday? If you talk about the tax holiday, it means that freedom from the payment of tax for some time. Freedom from the payment of tax. Freedom, we can say that freedom from the payment of tax for some time. From the payment of tax for some time. For some time. So number one, we will provide the tax holiday. Number two, we will provide what? Tax holiday. We will provide the subsidized power supply. Subsidized power supply. So that the more and more private sector will come forward and they can take the license from the government and they can open the industry. Fourth point, encouraging cottage and small scale industry. Encouraging cottage and small scale industry. So students, today I have explained the Industry Policy Resolution 1956. In that I have explained 3-4 classification. In that 3-4 classification, I have explained a point that first there are 17 public industries there. Second, there are public and private industries there. Private industry have got secondary rule, and then there were only 12 industries are there, public sector. Except A and B, all the industry will be private. In third point, I have explained that in 3-4 classification that only there are 2 industries are there for public sector, atomic energy and railways. Now I have told you that industry licensing is there. You have to take private industry, they have to take the license from the government. Then industrial concession should be given by the government to private industries like tax holiday and concession. And in this way, the more and more encouraging cottage and small scale industry. So students, today I have explained you very important topic of class 12 Cbse board, that is Industry Policy Resolution 1956. Please do it properly. Please like my channel, share my channel and subscribe my channel. Thanks, Dr. Ivogna.